All right, hi there everyone. Welcome today. My name is Erica. For those of you who don't know me, I am the registered dietitian here. And once a month, I do a cooking demonstration, give out recipes, have you all try it, just to give you some more ideas on how to eat well, be well. And so yeah, we do this the second Wednesday of every month. Glad you're here. Facebook Live is here as well. So today we're talking all about the garden, particularly my garden, because I have an abundance of certain things in my garden, including zucchini, basil, and tomatoes. And so that's what our recipes are revolving around today, is zucchini, tomatoes, and basil. And these are just kind of like quintessential fruits and vegetables of summer that we're talking about. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. The first recipe we're gonna do is called a Caprese salad. Have any of you ever heard of that or tried that? Okay, so Caprese basically just means tomatoes, basil, mozzarella. Okay, it's really super simple. So that's exactly what we're going to use. I kind of am ashamed that I'm even calling this a recipe. It's not really even a recipe. It's just something really simple you could do as a side dish, as an appetizer, or if you jazz it up with a few extra things, even an entree, okay? So what we're going to start out with is some garden fresh tomatoes, which I have right here. I've already sliced a few of them. I think I'll slice at least one more. And then I also have picked some fresh basil. Here, let me move this out of the way. Okay. So how many of you are growing gardens this year? Anyone? Okay. Well, the good news is all of these vegetables are in season right now, so you can get them really tasty at the supermarket if you don't grow them yourself. Okay. So these are my main three components: tomato, basil, and mozzarella, which I have right here. So I actually bought this mozzarella that's pre-sliced. Okay, it's fresh mozzarella, so it's a lot softer in consistency than like the hard shredding mozzarella that you usually get. So it's just in these little slices like this. I'll show you if I can get one out of here. Okay. Just comes in already pre-done slices. And what I'm gonna do is I'm kind of just going to layer my tomato and mozzarella slices and occasionally throw in a basil leaf. Okay, so that ideally you get like a bite of mozzarella, tomato, and basil in every bite. And it's really super pretty too. I mean, it's too bad that tomatoes and basil aren't in season in December, because this would be a really festive dish for Christmas. Okay. So I'm just going to kind of continue to alternate those. And then we're just going to finish off with a drizzle of olive oil for some healthy fats, and also a drizzle of balsamic glaze, or balsamic reduction. Now, balsamic reduction is basically balsamic vinegar that you put in a pan like this and just simmer it. And you simmer it until it's pretty much reduced like by half in size, and it's kind of syrupy, okay? So that's how you make a balsamic reduction, just from balsamic vinegar. Now, I kind of take a shortcut most of the time, and I buy already pre-made balsamic reduction. I find a really good one at Trader Joe's. It looks like this. It's a balsamic glaze. It's basically just balsamic vinegar that's been reduced, okay? And if you learned today what a reduction is. So it's basically just a liquid that's pretty much been boiled down and reduced by half. That's what a reduction, like if you ever heard like red wine reduction or something like that. Okay. Continue doing these until I use up all my ingredients here. Another good thing to drizzle on this is pesto, because it kind of reinforces that basil flavor. It's tasty. Okay. I'm just going to do this. Cool. Use up a few more of these. Okay. And this is also something that can be made relatively ahead of time, which is kind of nice, like if you're entertaining. I'll use this one. Okay, cool. And then I have my extra virgin olive oil. I do try and get the extra virgin cold pressed olive oil. I like the one from Costco if you ever shop at Costco. And so I'm just gonna give this a little bit of a drizzle all around. And then we're also going to do a drizzle of this balsamic glaze. Okay. Kind of pretty. And then we're going to crack on some pepper here, peppercorns, and we're just going to grind them on. And then I like to finish, I just went to the Oregon coast and I got this really yummy sea salt, and it's flavored with garlic, so this garlic sea salt. And I like sea salt because you don't have to use very much to get a lot of flavor. And so I'm just going to sprinkle that on as our finishing touch here. And you guys, like I said, embarrassingly easy. But that is done, and it took me, what, 5 minutes? So easy and so good. I can't wait for you guys to try that. But it's just a good way to use up those garden fresh veggies. Just pick up some tomatoes. It's a really inexpensive recipe as well. A couple tomatoes, a little bit of basil, and some mozzarella, and you probably already have salt, pepper, and olive oil at home. So it's something really easy to kind of whip up as a side dish. Okay, any questions on that? No? Okay, I'm gonna, what?
Let's eat.
Let's eat. Not yet. We still got a couple more recipes to make. Okay, so what we're gonna make now is whole wheat spaghetti with kale pesto. Okay, how many of you have tried pesto? Okay, a couple people have at least probably tried it. How many of you have actually made it from scratch? Anyone? Okay. Actually so simple to make from scratch, and actually a lot cheaper to make it from scratch as well, because one little jar can cost like $6 or $8. Okay, so I'm gonna get this started, get this going while we make our pesto. What I have here is just some whole grain, whole wheat spaghetti, okay? And I always recommend for people to choose most of their foods whole grain, at least 80% of the time, instead of refined grains. So in the fields, do they grow fields of brown rice and fields of white rice? No, okay? It's all the same when they grow it out there. It's all brown rice, okay? Or wheat. It's all whole wheat, okay? The difference is what they do to it through processing. And I forgot to bring my big pot, so we'll see how this goes. I'm gonna try and break these. Oh, okay. I broke those in half so that they would fit in this pot here. And so that they're easier to eat, right? Okay, so whole grains. What does whole grain mean? Basically it means that you have a plant, let's say wheat or rice, and there's 3 components to grains: the bran, the germ, and the endosperm, okay? So what you have is the endosperm like this, and then the germ, and then the bran. And the bran is the outermost layer, and it's very, I don't know what's the word, fibrous, has a lot of fiber. That's where the majority of the fiber comes from, is from the bran shell, okay? The next layer is the germ, like wheat, if you've ever heard of wheat germ, okay? So the germ has the most nutrients, like B vitamins and iron and other nutrients in that way. And then the endosperm is the innermost portion that doesn't have a lot going for it, okay? And so when you get whole grains, like for example whole grain pasta or whole grain brown rice, or oats, or barley, or quinoa. What you have is the intact grain, okay, the whole grain. Then sometimes what they do is they strip away the bran, goodbye fiber, they strip away the germ, goodbye nutrients, and then you have the endosperm. And that's what white rice is, okay? So you don't get a lot of that same nutrition from the refined grain that you do from the whole grain. So that's why I always recommend to people, try and choose whole grains most of the time, okay? And keep in mind that although this is whole grain pasta, it's still gonna have quite a few carbohydrates. So if you had type 2 diabetes, or if you're trying to kind of watch your carbohydrate intake, you would still wanna take that into account. But this is certainly a much better option. Okay, so this is going to go for about 10 minutes, okay? So I'm gonna just time it on my watch here. So that's gonna go for 10 minutes, and we're gonna make our pesto in the meantime, okay? So the main basis of pesto usually is basil, okay? But you can have a lot of fun with pesto and do different things with it, like make spinach pesto, or beet pesto, or kale pesto in this case. And last class, I was trying to sell some of you on kale, and I think we tried baby kale for the first time, which is a little bit more tender, and it can kind of get you used to the flavor of kale without like that really stocky, chewy texture of this. This is the stocky, chewy texture, but we are actually going to be blending that up in our pesto, so you won't have quite the same mouthfeel there. So we're going to do half kale, half basil, so I still have some basil leaves in here as well. Okay, we're gonna have both of those flavors going on. Now, the basis for pesto is lemon, garlic, and some sort of nut. Usually, it's pine nuts, which are actually a legume, but pine nuts are usually the basis. I usually use walnuts. You could use pecans. You could even use cashews. It doesn't really matter. Okay, this recipe calls for pine nuts, but you could sub whatever you have on hand. I'm going to use about 1/4 of a cup of pine nuts, 2 cloves of garlic, okay? So I just have 2 peeled cloves of garlic. We don't have to mince them because they're just going straight in the processor, okay? We're going to do a squeeze of lemon, fresh lemon. Just hold it in my hand so I catch the seeds in my hand so you don't have seeds falling in there. See, and then you get the seeds in your hand, you can just throw them away. Okay? And then we're just going to pulse that up a little bit. Oh, I also forgot, we're gonna add a little bit of Parmesan cheese. Pesto is really something that's traditionally made with Parmesan cheese, but most of the time when I make it, I just skip it. Because I don't think you can really tell the difference, but this is a traditional kind of recipe. So where did I do with it? Oh yeah. Okay, I just use this microplane because then it grates the cheese really fine. And I always say buy a block of cheese, not the pre-grated. This freshly shaved Parmesan is wildly different than those little sticks that you get in the container of pre-grated Parmesan. This has a lot better flavor, a lot better texture. So I'm going to put about 1/4 cup of this as well in there. Okay. And then we're just going to pulse that up so that we don't have like huge chunks of garlic going on. Okay, so it's pulsed up. Then we're going to add our greens. Okay, so we've got some kale leaves. And we've got some basil leaves, bless you. So I just rinsed this really well. And then the rest is going to be basil. There's my basil leaves. Okay, and then we're going to pulse this up. You can kind of see it start to incorporate. Okay, now I'm going to leave the mixture running. incorporated here. I'm going to take this top part out. What I'm going to do is just stream in some olive oil. Okay, so my extra virgin olive oil, I'm going to stream in about a half a cup while the mixture is running, and then it'll kind of just come together. Okay. Hold on a second, I gotta grab my spatula. Scrape down the sides here. Okay, so some of it's still really chunky and some of it is really well incorporated and smoother. So you want to get all the texture to look like that. So you got to scrape down the sides here. Get it all incorporated. Look at that bright green color. Yum. So good. And I think I went on my kale spiel last time, but kale happens to be probably one of the best foods you could possibly eat. Highest in antioxidants, really high in fiber, phytates, nutrients. I could get all sciencey, but it's really good for you. Okay, last thing we need to do is just season it a little bit with some salt. So I just have some kosher salt, and I'm going to add a pinch to the top here. Okay, that looks good. Okay, so this is what it looks like. Okay. So, yum. Okay, so flavorful. A few simple ingredients, and you guys will be astounded by how much flavor this has. Fresh garlic, lemon, basil, kale, and olive oil all come together. This is a really good, healthy source of fat. Okay, it's plant-based. Not to mention, what this meal that we're making right now is a great vegetarian meal. Okay, it's really super simple. It has whole grains, and we're also adding legumes for a little bit of fiber and extra iron. Okay, so the type of legume that we're adding is white beans. Okay, so I just have a can of white beans right here. It's just the low sodium, just a regular can. I just drained it and rinsed it. Okay, and we're gonna add these. I feel like white beans and pesto pair really well together, just because white beans kind of have a lighter flavor and texture than say black beans. Black beans and pesto don't really go that well together. So we're gonna have that, pesto, and then some fresh baby tomatoes that I'm just gonna throw in there. Really super good flavor, high in lycopene and vitamin C, okay? So usually I might slice these in half, but they're really small, so I'm just gonna toss them in whole, okay? So these are kind of our add-ins, and then we're also going to add in some extra pine nuts on top for a little bit of crunch, okay? So our pasta's cooking. It's gonna use pretty much all of this water here, my goodness. I was gonna bring a bigger pot, but then I forgot. So who knows how to tell when spaghetti is done?
Throw it against the wall.
Throw it against the wall, that's right. You think Chaz will be mad at me? Let's find out. Hey, it's done. It's done. That means it's done. Perfect, I know.
Better wipe it out quick.
Okay, well let's just taste one just to be sure.
It's to the tube.
Perfect, yep.
Yeah.
Yep, so it's al dente, which means you don't want it to be mushy, okay? But you don't want it to be raw, obviously. So, I'm just gonna drain this real quick.
And that's what al dente means.
Yes. There's not much water in here, but I'm going to drain it anyway. Okay, so this is gonna go in our bowl. Okay, and then we're going to, while the pasta is hot, go ahead and just toss it with our pesto. Kind of get it all incorporated in there. So, bright green pesto goes in. Okay. And then we're gonna just toss that all together. Yeah, it looks so good already. Okay. And then we are going to toss in our other ingredients. You want to get it fully incorporated here so you get pesto in every bite. Oh, Mary, don't worry about that. Okay, that looks good. Other stuff going in, white beans, tomatoes. Yay, lots of tomatoes. Extra basil. Okay, sprinkle of salt. Toss that up. Let me see if I'm forgetting everything. Oh yeah, and then we're going to grate some fresh Parmesan over the top here. Perfect. And I make this meal a lot just for a simple, quick summer dinner. Healthy carbs, lots of produce, lots of nutrients, really filling. Any questions so far?
Can you do that with zucchini noodles?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did that. I actually did that during one of my last summer cooking classes. I did a pesto zucchini noodle one. And you'll see I'm doing a zucchini noodle recipe today as well. Woohoo! Okay, so yeah, looks good. Okay, so that one is done and done. And let's just do for good measure the top here, and then we'll set that aside and get ready to eat it in just a second. Now, my third recipe is actually going to be super quick because it's already done. Now, I really wanted, this is my lamentable state here with my limited kitchen, is that I really wanted to show you guys this really fun recipe that I've been making all summer, but I have to have an oven. And I didn't have an oven, so I still made it for you guys, and the recipe's over here, and I'll show you what I did, but you won't be able to see me do it step by step, okay? So what I did was zucchini lasagna roll-ups, okay? So it's like lasagna, but instead of using a lasagna noodle, I used zucchini, okay? So what I did is I just cut my zucchini really super thin, like this. My zucchinis are really big, that's why these are so big. But I basically cut it really super thin. Now this can be a really good thing for maybe someone with type 2 diabetes to use as a lower carb option instead of having the noodles. I do think that, you know, some carbohydrates are okay, but with type 2 diabetes, you do want to be careful about making healthy decisions with how much and that type of thing, okay? Or maybe if you're trying to lose weight, this can be a lower calorie option as well, because zucchini is going to have a lot more nutrition and a lot less calories than regular noodles, okay? So I just cut my zucchini really super thin like this, and then I made a filling, okay? My filling is basically similar to what a lasagna filling would be. Ricotta cheese, garlic, Italian spices, and instead of using sausage, I used chicken Italian sausage to cut down on the fat a little bit. Now I saved a little bit of the filling right here just so I could show you guys what I was doing with it. And there's also, oh yeah, there's fresh basil in my filling as well. So here's the filling, and what I do is I just take a little bit of the filling, about a heaping tablespoon, place it on a zucchini, like this, okay? and then just roll it up. Okay, sometimes they need it, sometimes they don't, but I just secured mine with a little toothpick, like this. And then you just line them up in your pan. Okay, so I'm gonna make one more.
So then when you got them all lined up in the pan and tight, holding each other together, then you take the toothpicks out?
You could, but there are still toothpicks in mine, so beware, don't chomp down on one. Take the toothpick out before you eat it, okay? I actually made these for dinner last night, and I didn't tell my husband there was a toothpick in it. And he was like, what is this? I can't eat it. He was trying to like chew the toothpick, and I'm like, take it out, it's a toothpick. But anyway, okay, so then you have these, okay? Then what I did, this is the skillet that I made them in, okay? Hopefully it still stays warm. But basically what you do, I just took some regular marinara sauce, spread it on the bottom of the pan, lined these all up in your pan on top of the marinara sauce, and then sprinkled with some fresh mozzarella. So I'll show you guys. Some of them kind of fell over, but basically this is what it looks like. Okay, so I lined them all up, put the marinara sauce in, sprinkled them with some mozzarella, and then I baked them in the oven at 400 degrees for 20 minutes. And that's it. And now you have these little zucchini lasagna roll-ups. You can just spoon extra of the marinara sauce over top, okay? And it's a really good low-carb, easy, simple dinner. You know, pair that. Last night I paired it with some green beans from the garden with a fresh, simple salad. And essentially you're eating a lot of vegetables, and you don't really feel like you're eating a lot of vegetables. You feel like you're eating lasagna. So it's kind of cool. So any questions on that method?
Do you have to do it in a cast iron pan?
No, you could do it like in a 9x13, like just like baking pan. Yeah.
How did you cut the zucchini so thin?
That's a good question. Okay, I do kind of have a trick. I have a mandolin slicer. Do you know what a mandolin is?
Yes.
So a mandolin is like this blade, and you go like this with the zucchini. It's like a cheese slicer almost. If you had a cheese slicer, that might be worth a try. But it basically gets the zucchini really super thin. I have done this before where I have just used a knife and just cut it really super thin. It helps when the zucchini is a little bit larger around. That way you get more slices out of it than when they're really small. Okay?
Is that like a plane?
Yeah, it's like a plane. It's exactly what it is. Yeah. They're pretty inexpensive if you wanted to invest in one. I never thought I would need one, but now I use it all the time. Like I make like beet chips on it, and I can slice sweet potatoes really super thin. You can slice zucchini, cucumber really thin slices if you wanted to make like a cucumber ribbon salad or something like that. So they're pretty handy. Yeah.
I was over at Grocery Outlet the other day and they had one for $10.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. You can find them Walmart, Grocery Outlet, pretty inexpensive. Yeah. Did you have a question?
Yeah. You have to put the toothpicks through that.
So you don't have to put toothpicks, but I won't guarantee that they'll stay in these nice little rolls if you don't, okay? Because sometimes you'll get your zucchini thin enough that when you roll it up, it just stays rolled up like that. But look at what happens when I don't put a toothpick in it. Okay, so I only use the toothpick just in case it does that while it's baking, and I try and secure it with a toothpick. Yeah. Okay, any other questions on this? That was really easy for me. I barely had to do anything to show you what I did, right? So yeah, today's recipes, zucchini, basil, tomato. I hope you guys can use some of these. I can't wait for you to try them, okay? Any other questions? No? Okay, recipes are over here. We meet the second Wednesday of every month. Sign up is over here. If you want to do a comment card, you can totally fill out that review. Otherwise, plates and forks over here. We'll go ahead and get going, okay?
Can you use like ground beans in that?
Sure.